windy today. Man, these guys are just crazy. All right, we'll get started. Good morning. Looks like we got a nice little bounce today. CBS is taking a hit, but that's okay. We'll just wait and see. Actually, we'll take a look at that later today. But let's go right to SPY. So decent day yesterday. Really zoomed in here. Let's see what I get here. Messy. 3 days, inside of an inside day. So, maybe if we see something outside yesterday's parameters, which were high of 519.50 and what? 518.62. So not much movement yesterday. Volume was a little bit less than the day before. So if we see a third day where it's kind of, again, lower volume, even if it's an up or down day from its start, it's just the idea, what's the range? What's the range doing? What's the volume doing? What's the range doing? How much volume, are we starting to tighten up for a bigger move in either direction? I know right now we're not looking too good as we head into the open, but let's go down to the 1 minute chart on the sucker real quick just to see how this played out. 8 o'clock shakeout. Okay, so 8 o'clock reset, and that's what we're working on now. So you can see it. You can see it right there, and then there's this other one right here, right? So there's that one, and there's this one. That's what we're working on. So there's one that's pushing it down here, and then they will also throw this one in there. So that's probably the big heavy one overall. So we got lots of downtrend rays, nothing coming up off the top yet. Potential reversal setup here where you have a higher RSI, higher RSI, lower share price. You come here, hangs out. If she holds this, moves sideways, and then is able to pop through one of these two, you might see some reversal at the open. It's a little bit, 906. But you got the RSI here in control. Yeah, she's probably got to go a little bit lower to really start getting the real bullish divergence that we're looking for. Which you might get actually after the open. So this might pop up and then maybe sometime. What's this? What time would that be? Yeah, so she's got probably all the way until essentially, what would that be? 10 o'clock. So 10 o'clock is probably when, if it's still hanging out down here and she doesn't just blast off, or she starts just cranking through here before the open, she might be able to roll out, come up, and then run into this area, this volume shelf right here, which would be solid resistance around 514.50, and then she comes back down, and then maybe that's another way to do a setup here. You're probably looking at least an hour before you get a solid confirmation in either direction. If you're looking to add. If you're day trading, that's something different, but if you're somebody who's looking to add to something today, you got to at least probably wait an hour. Cirrus and Rigel, we're not, people are like, hey, this is pretty good. It's a pretty good stock. Yeah. Company, it's criminally undervalued. Same thing with Rigel. I mean, right now, even I just don't get it. Like these guys have approved products and they're showing growth. They're not great, but they're showing growth. Not astronomical growth, not exponential 1,000% every quarter, but still showing growth, moving closer to profitability, and at least, well, I should say, holding profitability. I think these guys could easily be worth $7 a share in a year or so. So I think that'd be fair if they can get some more growth going here. Schrodinger, interesting one to consider, guys. That's one to look at. Because look, we got some strengthening RSI. The monthly hasn't really. I guess we'd have to go back a ways to find out. Yeah. Could be a nice easy double soon. The range will allow it to probably get above at least our sell target 1 without really running into any, hard resistance technically, or momentum or some, buyers drying up. KPTI, another one to keep an eye on. Okay. All right, so that's that one. Let's take a really quick look at Bioreactor, and then I'll put our watch list in for the day. AstraZeneca, another day of, well, they were good yesterday, right? So they're moving up. So if you're looking at AstraZeneca, we're coming to a key point right here. Here's the high of the formation. So not like obviously a clean double bottom, but you're getting it, right? I mean, they had this moment here, but she was able to quickly recover and go from there. Nice bullish divergence, right? So here's the higher share price, lower RSI, lower share price, higher RSI. Not bad. Bayer, what you doing here? So close. Look at this. Oh my gosh. But above the Keltner channel, you can see like this anchored VWAP is in control. Obviously, this downtrend ray is the big guy coming down. She's had, yeah, I guess, yeah, she really hasn't. I mean, this one day she was there, but she opened up way below. She's having a trouble getting through this. It needs somebody to come in with a, lay a stack down and say, let's go. Shut off the algos. So, the thing is you can use an algo to essentially start mimicking human interaction, human buying, which, if people are looking at, level 1s and 2s during the day, you can start seeing some interesting buying, but that can be a computer, an algorithm, bot, automated trading, whatever you want to say, that is, pulling off the transaction. But they can make it look, if they're like, looking to really change the outlook narrative on the stock and saying like, it's not computers and market maker algos just grinding it down or grinding it up anymore. It's humans that are finding that this level and this timing to be good. You'll see some day traders, if the momentum gets up, the volume gets up, it hits off on a few scanners, then you can be that can be the start. Someone just needs to essentially say the parties we're going the other way. So that's what Bayer probably needs. It's a day of just like no reason. It's got to be outside, right? So a day that market's kind of slow, nothing's really moving around. Healthcare, not in particular, is not having a great day. And all of a sudden, for some reason, Bayer's just getting bid up. No news, no nothing, just good technical time. It looks like so you take a look at the chart, make sure that they're not looking at any other way except they're saying, oh, this is just a technical breakout. This could be a good spot to seller's exhaustion. Could be a good spot for a day trade. Could be a good spot for a swing trade. Hey, this could be a good spot for me to add or start a position trade, right? Or you get the investors, which is like, hey, things are starting to look a little better. Good value here. Add. So you have all those players coming in for the buy, and no matter what their time frame is, they're least overpowering the sellers, who although could be right in many ways and ultimately could be right, but it's the time where you can get all those other parties, all the different types of bulls in line, and say, this is a good spot to throw some money at it. Risk reward, all that stuff is just pointing to the upside. That's what Bayer needs right now, because it's just the algo grind is just killing it. But if you're an investor, you're sitting here and you're just, taking a few bucks, thinking about it. Where what's a easy opportunity here? It's a speculative one, despite being essentially a blue chip stock, because we don't know if it goes any lower, because there's not too much great headlines coming. There's not too many great headlines coming from Bayer right now, right? It's all negative for the most part. But what would I say? Well, look what happened with Johnson & Johnson. They still deal with some stuff, but hey, all they need to do is showing their growth again, show that they have other things that they can move on from. Who else had those problems? GSK, Pfizer, all these, have to deal with these legal lawsuits and what's their thing? They're dealing with the Roundup thing, right? To show that there's, that's not what Bayer's all about. And in fact, all they really need to show is that that's not what all Monsanto's all about, right? Monsanto with the seeds, that is it in itself. That's billions of dollars. It's not even like Bayer as a whole, but even within its own segment of the company, it's not a big deal. This was a mistake for me. Didn't see it. Wasn't ready for it. I mean, yes, was it a brief moment that we could have grabbed some? Yeah, but I should have been ready for Rocket. Rocket's one of my favorite gene therapies, gene editing. They have some great pipeline. One thing is that they have good technology, right? They have different types of technology, but they also have a great pipeline. Like these guys, their stuff is shown to be working, right? They're getting close. But what they're going after is they're going to be the first to the market, and it doesn't seem like there's anybody else really coming up right behind them. So they're going to have a good commercial opportunity. Still, I don't want to chase it right now because although I still have enough in there to be happy with it. I wanted to load up, and I wasn't ready for it. Kind of just I don't like having 1,000 standing orders at just right at the buy threshold. But perhaps some of them where I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of undersized and I know that things are looking good for them. Maybe I should just be ready. So, need to consider that. All right, so she's coming back down. I'm still looking for like a 750 here. But maybe I might not be able to get that. When can we get this sucker? Can't get my health anchored V-Blab. There you go. Got to zoom way in here. All right, so why did I do that? Which is I'm kind of figuring out if this thing's going to stay bullish, right? Can I get it to a price that I want bullish? So maybe 1023 is where I'm going to have to. So yeah, that's a pretty good spot right here, right? So what would you do? You'd probably try to pick it up at 1050. A little bit above 1050, 1055. What's that? 1064 might not be a bad spot to maybe throw a few in there. Now, why am I saying that? What's the point? I'm trying to figure out if this does sell off, does it have any underlying support that's going to stop me? Is it going to essentially push it way up? Because two things are going to happen. Either the market and the sector are going to roll over, and then I'm buying into a whole bunch of weakness, and this won't give you anything. And it'll roll over and it'll come down. Maybe you'll get something at 70, but it could roll down to like $5, which probably not going to happen. But considering the commercial potential of what these guys have, I need to figure out if there's where I think I should be looking for it fundamentally is not possible technically. right? So here's some, area. You got these anchored VWAPs that are down here. Plus you have this some support, level here. So 1050, 1060 is probably where you're gonna have to look at it. Now you have this uptrend rate coming from the bottom here. Is that even gonna give you a shot at it, right? So you have this one too. Look. So probably not. So I'm gonna have to either, at this point, I just have to wait for it to fall. She's got it. You can see how clean that downtrend is right here, though, right? So you got this one, and then you have this one. We'll put that one in right now because it's what it seems like she's messing with right now. So how heavy is this, and how strong is that? We'll see. All right, I'll leave it there. I'll put some names in the chat, a few of them that we should be looking at. It's basically the same, but I'm going to probably throw Cirrus up towards the top a little bit more, and Schrodinger might be a little bit more of a pressing issue as well. Looking at those charts and what they have coming up. Fate Therapeutics is another one. I'm gonna do a write-up on that one. It's another one to keep an eye on. She's getting close to a lot of different early stage, because they're essentially resetting their pipeline, not the technology, but like their programs. Very lot of preclinical stuff coming in, so they're broadening out their pipeline. That a lot of these phase 1 data will be probably done by the end of this year, so should be a good time to, considering it's paying at like trading at like $5, $6, $7 a share. What the commercial potential of those programs are, blockbusters, and she's trading at, I think, a little bit under $1 billion. So less than a decade, you'd have a good investment, and they have plenty of cash right now. Now that cash is probably gonna get burnt because, hey, you have all these preclinical programs, cell therapies, those trials, cancer trials, all those. Nothing about that says cheap. So they're gonna chew through it. How much and whatever, who knows? So it's kind of hard to forecast it, but the good thing is that they have enough cash, obviously, to get through the end of the. They do have enough cash to get through this end of the year, which, again, a lot of their pipeline programs are doing reading out a lot of data. So what you would have is, although, yeah, they're going to chew through some cash real quick, at least those catalysts could bolster the share price enough that, the next offering, if it's going to happen, is going to be at a much higher valuation than it is now. It stinks to get diluted, but also it's nice to get, to be an investor where, the next level of investors and valuations is 2-3 times higher than it is now. So that's what we're looking for. That's the potential. And then you can, bank some profit off that, and then just sit down and, or put it in the back of the drawer, and just hopefully fate eventually proves that its cell technology really does work for NK cells and T-cell therapies as a real legitimate off-the-shelf. And you'd be buying the products, but what you're hoping for is that a larger, entity here comes in and says, I want your technology because it looks like you guys can just attach anything to these cells and it works. And the person doesn't really, for the most of the programs, it looks like the patient doesn't have to go through a lot of apheresis. Well, it doesn't. It's off the shelf, so they don't have to get apheresis. So you don't have to go into the hospital and get your cells pulled, like taken out of you and then engineered and then put back in. These are off the shelf, so it means like they're just sitting there waiting for it, and they just have to add the final ingredients, and engineer it, essentially, those last thing. But that's a whole stage taken out, right? So that's a whole procedure that doesn't have to happen. And also, they don't have to do as much conditioning with this, which is what you would really want, right? Now, that's the big scare about not using your own T cells or NK cells, which is if you're using off the shelf, does your body, go into full panic mode and then start attacking it? And then you got, or aggressive cytokine release. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that can go along with that. Is that going to be a threat with these guys? Now, on paper, no. So far in the clinic, no. The only thing that's concerning is that, do these things really last long in your body? And is it strong enough of a reaction for efficacy? So, which we're waiting for. These guys need to figure that out. I don't know what it is. I mean, initially, it's kind of hard to believe that what you go after first and what you think is your best shot, right? You're hopefully going after your best shot the first time around to get something through, which things fell short. So maybe it's all, such low efficacy numbers that it's not a leading drug. It's not a leading therapy. It's something that you could possibly, especially if the safety, right? If the safety, toxicity levels, and all that stuff are really low, they're finding out that a lot of these, especially with like hematological, anything that's essentially blood cancer, right? Plasma, all these cancers, and that is that there's a lot of T cell depletion or exhaustion, I should say. So even if you do get a CAR T cell or I'm not sure about NK, but if you're getting a CAR T cell therapy, so far in what they've been really approved for, which is like myelomas and lymphomas and all those, they're finding out that the T cells get depleted, so the efficacy goes down. And it's like, well, that's just because like other things, other drugs, especially for myeloma, is that once the drug's used, it's like, well, that's it, throw it away. We didn't, it didn't work, so it worked once. It's probably not going to work again because now it's moved on. It needs some other tool to try to, but that's not necessarily true. It's not that like there's resistance or it's getting used to the therapy. It's just that these T cells get tired and they're done. So it's possible that T cell therapies could be a reoccurring treatment, whereas a lot of the other drugs that are used for myelomas and again hematological cancers, it's kind of one and done. Like it's a tissue, it's done. So hopefully that's not the case. And then what would happen with Fate is that, hey, you guys have off the shelf stuff, you can mass produce it. It shows that although it might not be absolutely home run, knock it out of the park, eradicate it completely, which most of these hematologicals are almost impossible to do. You can get it over and over and over and over again. Whereas a lot of people have concerns about T cells with other like solid tumors, or cell therapies in general, really just being a one and done. Because once the solid tumor really learns how to fight it, you're kind of SOL. I guess that's what they're seeing now. So anyway, point being is that they need to have decent numbers, but if they can show that they're safe and it work and it's not so aggressive that it's creating immense levels of cytokine release and all that, there's some life there. So hopefully, anybody's looking to get involved in the cell therapies might see Fate as a good opportunity. Now the downside to that is it's great science, it's great ideas, but it's just not potent enough. And maybe they have to go back to the drawing board in many ways. Maybe not go back to formula, but maybe they have to retool a little bit. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Probably just went through my entire article that I'm writing up, but hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any tickers, of course, put them in the chat. I have a few ETF things I'm working on. I got another, Abbott's got earnings next week that we should keep an eye on. It's kind of floating under the radar. They're on a solid recovery fundamentally in earnings, so a little disparity between fundamental outlook and the ticker, so it could be a good opportunity to add there. But anyway, I'll end it there. Again, let me know if you have anything you need. Good luck.